Something just went very wrong for Bubba Wallace, and it happened at the worst possible time. Right when momentum was starting to build, right when every lap at Texas actually mattered, everything suddenly snapped out of control. A routine practice session turned into a heavy crash. And now the big question is no longer about speed, it's about survival. Because heading into one of the most unpredictable races of the season, Bubba Wallace is already on the back foot. And here's the part no one is talking about enough. This crash didn't just damage a car, it may have completely changed his entire weekend. So what really happened at Texas Motor Speedway? And what does this mean for his chances when the green flag drops? Make sure you watch till the end to see how this whole situation plays out. Here, you get the real stories behind the headlines, just pure NASCAR insight. Now let's get into it. The incident happened during Cup Series practice at Texas Motor Speedway, a track that's already known for being tricky, fast, and brutally unforgiving. Drivers were pushing hard, trying to find speed in a session where every adjustment matters. And Bubba Wallace? He was doing exactly that, pushing. But sometimes, that fine line between speed and control disappears in a split second. Wallace lost control of the car and slammed into the wall, bringing an immediate end to his session. It wasn't just a light scrape or minor contact. This was enough damage to force the team into a backup car situation. And that right there is where the real problem begins. Because switching to a backup car isn't just about rolling out another vehicle. It means losing track position advantages, starting further back, and most importantly, losing the rhythm you were building with your primary setup. After the crash, Wallace didn't try to hide anything. He admitted it himself. He pushed the limits. And at Texas, pushing too hard almost always comes with consequences. But here's where things get interesting. This wasn't reckless driving. This was a driver trying to extract every ounce of performance from a car on a difficult track. Texas Motor Speedway has a reputation for being unpredictable, especially in the corners where grip can disappear without warning. So while some might look at this crash and see a mistake, others will see a driver doing exactly what he needs to do, taking risks to stay competitive. Still, the timing couldn't be worse. Practice sessions are where teams dial everything in: balance, tire wear, handling over long runs. Losing that data, especially after a crash, puts the entire team in a reactive position instead of a prepared one. And now, Bubba Wallace heads into the race weekend without that crucial edge. But this situation isn't just about one crash. It's about the bigger picture. Bubba Wallace's season has been a mix of strong runs and frustrating setbacks. There have been moments where he's looked like a serious contender, and others where things just didn't come together. That inconsistency is exactly what makes this Texas weekend so important. A clean race here could have been a turning point. Instead, now it's a recovery mission. Starting from the back, which is often the case after switching to a backup car, changes everything about race strategy. You're no longer racing the leaders early on, you're fighting through traffic, dealing with dirty air, and taking risks just to move forward. And at a place like Texas, that's dangerous. Because this track doesn't forgive mistakes. We've seen it time and time again. One small error can trigger a chain reaction. And if Wallace is forced to push harder than usual just to catch up, the risk level only increases. But here's the other side of the story. Sometimes, adversity creates opportunity. Drivers who start from the back often flip the strategy. They stay out longer, gamble on pit calls, or take advantage of cautions in ways frontrunners can't. And Bubba Wallace has shown before that when things get chaotic, he can capitalize. So the question becomes, can he turn this setback into something unexpected? Let's talk about his chances. Winning at Texas after a crash like this? It's possible, but it's going to be extremely difficult. Everything has to go right. The backup car needs to feel strong immediately. The team has to make perfect strategy calls, and Wallace himself has to stay aggressive but controlled. That balance is going to be everything. If he pushes too hard again, it could end the same way. If he plays it too safe, he might never reach the front. And that's the tightrope he's walking heading into this race. Another key factor is confidence. Crashes like this can do two things to a driver: either shake their confidence or sharpen their focus. And based on Wallace's reaction, it looks like he's leaning toward the second. He owned the mistake. He understood what went wrong. And that kind of mindset usually leads to a more calculated approach in the race itself. But Texas doesn't care about mindset. It only responds to execution. And that's where the real challenge begins. Let's also not forget the competition. The field at Texas is stacked with drivers who already have solid setups, clean practice runs, and momentum on their side. While Wallace and his team are adjusting to a backup car, others are fine-tuning race-winning speed. That gap is hard to close, especially over the course of a single race weekend. However, NASCAR has a way of flipping expectations. One caution at the right time, one bold strategy call, one perfectly executed restart, and suddenly a driver who was struggling is right back in the mix. So while the odds may not favor Bubba Wallace right now, he's far from out of it. If anything, this crash has made his race even more unpredictable. And unpredictability is where surprises happen. Looking ahead to the Texas race itself, expect Wallace to approach the early stages carefully. He'll need to feel out the backup car, understand its limits, and avoid getting caught in early incidents. From there, it's all about progression, stage by stage, position by position. If he can break into the top 20 early, that's a win. Top 15 by mid-race, even better. And if he somehow finds himself near the top 10 late in the race, then everything changes, because at that point it's no longer about recovery, it's about opportunity. So will Bubba Wallace win at Texas? Realistically, it's an uphill battle. The crash has made an already tough race even harder, but counting him out completely? That would be a mistake. Because NASCAR races aren't won on paper, they're won in moments. And if the right moment comes his way, Bubba Wallace might just turn this entire story around, from a practice crash to a comeback nobody saw coming. And honestly, that's what makes this so interesting. Because heading into Texas, this isn't just another race for Bubba Wallace. It's a test of control, a test of patience, and a test of whether he can take a setback and turn it into something bigger. Now the only thing left is to see how it plays out when the green flag drops.